During the spring semester of 2013, a group of scientists at Indiana University started brainstorming to figure out an effective way to get students to reduce their energy consumption. After researching residential energy consumption, these scientists identified that about 30% of water used is hot water, which makes up about 13% of a typical utility bill. So, how do we get people to use less water? In 1966, Friedman and Fraser published a study that tested consistency and commitment. A volunteer researcher went door to door in a neighborhood in California and asked people to sign a petition to pledge their support to keeping California beautiful. 2 weeks later, another set of researchers went to the same houses and asked the residents to place a large sign in their yard that said, "Drive carefully." More than half the people complied because they made the previous commitment. Friedman and Fraser explained their findings by the fact that once people made a public service commitment, they saw themselves differently and were more likely to make other larger public service commitments to maintain consistency with their new self-image. Piggybacking off of this design, we decided to apply the commitment and consistency principle to water consumption at a local apartment complex to see if these sorts of interventions also lead to a reduction in water consumption. To test this, we conducted an experiment at University Townhomes in Bloomington, Indiana. The typical resident at this apartment complex was a student at Indiana University. We chose this apartment complex because each of the 36 apartments has its own water meter. First, we randomly divided the apartments into control and experimental groups. In order to see a change from baseline, we collected water consumption data for a week prior to intervention. For our first intervention, we went door to door asking residents to sign a petition that said that they pledged to reduce their water consumption. For the following week, we continued to collect water consumption data. Then for our second intervention, we went back to the houses that signed our petition the previous week and asked them to put a sticker on their window or door to publicly show their commitment to water conservation. Again, we continued to collect water consumption data for the following week. Based on our results, we found that our first intervention was successful at reducing water consumption, but that our second intervention was not successful. Although we did not see a decrease between the first and second interventions, we did successfully produce an experiment confirming Cialdini's commitment and consistency principle. Once we asked residents to sign the petition, they wanted to show that they were consistent and also agreed to let us publicly display the sticker. One of the first problems we faced was broken water meters. Some of the water meters never moved, even though we knew the corresponding apartments were occupied. Others suggested that people were using enormous amounts of water. Our experiment ran through Easter weekend, when many of our participants likely were not at home for 2 days out of the week. Also, we needed more time to run the experiment. With only a week's worth of data at each phase, our data is highly suspect to any random error. Along with that, we had very small samples with only 11 people in our control group and 6 in our experimental group by the end due to uncertainties and problems with the data. Our results have questionable significance. In fact, with these last 2 problems, it's entirely possible that our experiment worked, and we just couldn't capture that effect. We have a few recommendations for future experimenters interested in individual water and energy conservation. First, we suggest experimenters ask participants to set a specific goal, like taking 5-minute showers or decreasing water consumption by 10%. Giving residents a more specific goal could have resulted in a greater reduction in water consumption. Our second recommendation would be to post the stickers closer to the point of action. For example, place the sticker next to the shower so that the person can see it as they are showering, reminding them of their commitment to reduce their water consumption. Third, future experimenters should look to obtain larger sample sizes and run their experiments for longer durations. Our small sample size and short duration were 2 of our largest limitations. Our results suggest that commitment may be an effective tool in reducing energy consumption. Future researchers should expand upon our experiment using our recommendations to further study this effect.